It's Friday, June 26th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. There's an assurance that Barbados' economy is in safe hands, despite predictions that the US dollar could weaken. It's coming from Central Bank Governor Cleviston Haynes, who said while the US dollar may depreciate at some points, he did not expect it to have a significant impact on the Barbados dollar. Highly acclaimed Swiss multinational investment bank and financial services company UBS Wealth Management, which is part of the UBS Group, recently predicted that the US dollar could weaken against other currencies. But speaking during last night's Caribbean Economic Forum entitled COVID and Economic Policy, Protecting Jobs, Businesses and the Economy, Haynes said he was confident the U.S. financial market would eventually rebound.
I think what is critical at this point in time is really going to be related to our trade flows. Yes, the U.S. currency may suffer periods of depreciation, but I think at the end of the day, what one will notice is that the U.S. financial market is really a very strong financial market. And that, I think we're going through a little bumpy period now in the U.S. because of their trade tensions, etc. I think those will be resolved over time, and the U.S. will resume its general dominance within the financial landscape. Clearly, you have other countries which are becoming more and more important, particularly the Chinas of this world. But I don't think that how the U.S. economy is going to go is going to lead to a general collapse of the dollar that will create a significant adverse impact on the Barbados economy.
In highlighting the effects of COVID-19 on Barbados, the central bank governor said before the pandemic struck, the country was well on its way to achieving economic growth. He said while those goals had to be revised, Barbados was still projected to grow slightly in 2021.
As everyone knows, Barbados went through a period of sort of economic paralysis where our reserves were falling, there was sluggish economic activity, and our debt was beginning to explode. And so over the last 2 years, we worked very diligently to restore the situation to the point where our reserves have been rebuilt to comfortable levels. We've had some debt restructuring, which has brought our debt levels down. And the only thing that we really wanted to do now was to get the economy to grow. We anticipated for 2020 that we'd be able to get some modest growth backed by investment from foreign investors. But when COVID came, that basically threw all of our plans askew. Over the past year, we were able to get a primary surplus on our fiscal of 6% of GDP, and we've had to cut that back to an estimate right now of 1% of GDP, and being able to achieve that 1% will really depend on how strongly we are able to maintain economic activity going forward. So rather than getting modest economic growth, we now expect to have a double-digit fall in output for 2020. And as you've seen, as everybody has seen, that has resulted in significant loss in jobs, loss in revenue for government. And the one thing that really has stood out for us is that our reserves held steady. Not only have we been able to get resources from the IMF, but we've not really had to sell foreign exchange in order to shore up our reserves over the past 3 months. And that, I think, is a positive sign in terms of the developments that we've had.
One of the island's main trade unions is set to meet today with construction firm Preconco Limited to address the slashing of its staff wages. The proposed talks come a week after a threatened labor shutdown of the country over workers' pay cuts. On Wednesday, the Barbados Workers' Union met with the management of Preconco under the chairmanship of Labour Minister Colin Jordan in a bid to resolve the dispute. Our Emmanuel Joseph has more.
Deputy General Secretary of the BWU, Dwayne Paul, told Barbados Today a follow-up meeting is scheduled for today, Friday, to be chaired again by Labour Minister Jordan. When Paul issued that shutdown warning Thursday last week, contending that Preconco had unilaterally reduced the workers' pay in contravention of labour legislation, operations manager of the company, Joshua Reed, immediately defended the decision to cut the workers' money. Reid insisted that the action taken by Preconco in reducing the salaries and wages was neither unlawful nor illegal, regardless of whether the employees had signed the letter agreeing with the decision. Paul had also said that any industrial action would not only be against Preconco, but would include all employers in Barbados who are guilty of cutting workers' pay packets. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
The BOSS program is very much on track to be rolled out next month. Government's senior economic advisor, Dr. Kevin Greenidge, has given the assurance that everything is on go for the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme to commence at the beginning of July. The initiative, which was announced last month by Prime Minister Mia Mottley, gives public servants the option to purchase government bonds with a portion of their salaries. In an interview with Barbados Today, Dr. Greenidge said all the logistics had been dealt with, paving the way for a smooth implementation of the BOSS. Meantime, persons who are interested in signing up for the BOSS program are being reminded that they must complete and submit the Public Sector Worker Option Form by today. The form is currently on government websites and has also been sent to the email accounts of eligible public officers.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Regional news now. The Caribbean Court of Justice says it has not decided the issue of jurisdiction in the appeal filed by two senior members of Guyana's main opposition People's Progressive Party Civic in relation to the Court of Appeal ruling regarding the disputed March 2nd elections. CCJ President Justice Adrian Saunders made the position clear during the case management conference yesterday. The full hearing of all matters in dispute takes place on Wednesday, July 1st. More in this report from News Source, Guyana.
We do not want submissions that go on and on and on, that are repetitious or delve into matters which are not particularly relevant. We think that your submissions could be succinctly captured in no more than 10 pages. Each page with a spacing of at least 1.5.
The applicant's submission should be filed by Saturday morning, while the respondents will have to file their submissions by Sunday afternoon. The applicant's response will have to be completed and filed by Tuesday morning before the Wednesday morning hearing. It was made clear by the judges of the CCJ this afternoon that they have not yet decided on whether the court has jurisdiction on the matter. One judge said he wanted that to be made very clear.
I would like to express the very firm conviction that all counsel will convey to all persons who may listen to them that this court has not decided it has jurisdiction. Thank you.
Yes, yes, that is something which we will only decide after we've heard all the submissions and made our decision on that matter. So that the fact that we've had this case management conference, or that we are making orders to receive submissions, is not to be taken as if we have already decided the issue of jurisdiction. It is an issue which we have to decide. In order to decide it, we have to put in place certain management processes and receive your submissions, and that is all that is being done up to this point.
The Attorney General of Guyana has argued that the CCJ does not have jurisdiction to hear the matter, since the Guyana Court of Appeal ruling on that particular matter was final. On Wednesday, the attorneys will make their oral presentations, and all of the presentations will be completed on that day. The application by the PPP is seeking 5 main orders, including an order to throw out the local court's ruling. Justice Saunders said today that the matters will be dealt with expeditiously.
And finally, at least 20 million people in the US may already have been infected with COVID-19, according to a recent estimate by health officials. The Centers for Disease Control says the true number of cases is likely to be 10 times higher than the reported figure. More in this Reuters TV report.
More than 2 million cases of COVID-19 in the U.S. may seem like a staggering figure, but government experts now believe the actual number may be 10 times that. Officials from the Centers for Disease Control this week said more than 20 million people in the U.S. could have contracted the coronavirus based on results from antibody testing. If that estimate is correct, there is a bit of good news attached to it, which is that the virus would have killed a much smaller percentage of those with the disease than previously thought. More than 120,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. The CDC estimate comes as government officials note that many new cases are showing up in young people who do not exhibit symptoms and may not know they have the virus. Officials said those people, especially ones who are in regular contact with vulnerable populations, should proactively get tested to make sure they do not spread the disease.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.